When Kahles announced their new K328i, they made a pretty bold claim: a 40% wider field of view while maintaining their legendary clarity. For a company that's been crafting precision optics since 1898, that's no small promise. And today, they're introducing the brand new K540i while maintaining that same wider field of view. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Philip Vallejo, and I'm a former Marine Scout Sniper turned professional long-range instructor, competitive shooter, and long-range creative. In this video, we're gonna be talking about my initial thoughts on the brand new Kahles K540i. Now, full disclosure, I've been a Kahles sponsored shooter since 2017. I've run their glass on everything from my competition rifles to my hunting setups, and I use them extensively in my precision rifle instruction in classes with military law enforcement snipers, other competitive shooters, hunters, and regular riflemen and enthusiasts. So take everything that I'm gonna say in this video for what it's worth. A couple of months ago, I got my hands on a pre-production K540i. Since there were only a few units in the States, I had just a week with it before passing it off to another team shooter. While this isn't a long-term review by any means, I made the most of that week, putting it through its paces against the K328i, the K525i DLR, and the regular K525i, which I still have. With that being said, let's start with the technical specs and the basic features. As the name suggests, this is a 5-40 power scope with a 56mm objective lens. They sent me the non-DLR version here, which means it has a 16mm revolution turret. First, let's talk about some of the same features you'll find on Kahles scopes. You'll find the same aggressive parallax knob on top that the Kahles users have come to love. And I found it easy to adjust even with gloves on. And you can see that they sent me the left side windage option here, and this feature has been an absolute game changer for many competitive shooters, especially me as a right-handed shooter, because I know what my windage is always on, even when I'm dialing for wind, without having to take my face off the gun, which you know is super important to me. The K540i is still a first focal plane rifle scope and has an illuminated reticle. And inside the illumination reticle cap is the built-in zeroing key, which is a Kahles signature. The magnification ring was nice and smooth to adjust like their other scopes, so no issues there. Now here's what's interesting. Kahles claims to have increased their field of view by 40% compared to the regular K525i. Now that is super impressive, and you'll see in my testing how impressive this is. What I really notice is the difference when finding targets or trying to shoot from different positions. That's where that wider field of view really stands out. Now the scope weighs 39.1 ounces and it measures 16.1 inches long, which puts it in the same ballpark as the K624i, which was really surprising to me. If you're familiar with the K328i, you'll notice the front tube on the 540i is a little longer, which will help for scope mounting. They sent me the Skimmer 4 Plus reticle version, which actually brings me to reticle offerings. Let's break down what will be available. You got two main versions, the DLR and the non-DLR version. Again, the non-DLR version will have a 16mm revolution turret, and the DLR will have a 10mm revolution turret, which makes the number on the turret larger. For reticles, they're offering the AMR, MSR, and the Skimmer 4 Plus in the standard version. Now, if you're looking at the Skimmer Plus or the Skimmer 4 Plus, they are exclusively in the DLR version. And remember, regardless of which version you choose, you still get the left or right side windage option. Now let's talk about some of the side-by-side testing that I did. Before we dive into a field of view comparisons, a quick note about testing conditions. All measurements were taken on a cloudy day, about 45 minutes before sunset because it's wintertime. So keep in mind when you're trying to look at these comparisons. Don't butcher me with lighting conditions or anything like that. My main goal here was to show you some footage of the field of view differences between the optics. I had two targets, one at 540 and 1145, so that you guys can see the different field of view differences at those yardages. With the K328i at 28 power, you're getting about 18 mils of field of view. Drop it to 20 power, that opens about 26 mils, and 15 power, you're looking at 30 mils to 32 mils. The new K540i tells a different story. At full power, 40 power, you've got 13 mils. At 30 power, it increases to 17 mils, and at 25 power, you're seeing 20 mils. At 15 power, where you're getting 32, 33 mils, notably wider than its predecessor. For comparison, the standard K525i at 25 power gives you 14.4 mils, while the DLR version at the same power opens up to 16 mils. Now let's talk real world performance. After I zero my rifle with a 20 MOA scope base and 0 MOA built in my scope rings, I had 17 mils of adjustment after zeroing. I tested the tracking out to 1,145 yards, which needed about 10 mils of an adjustment, running my 153 A-tip load, pushing about 2670 feet per second out of my 6.5 Creedmoor. With 17 mils, I could technically engage out to 1,567 yards with the setup in atmospheric conditions without needing to hold, which is plenty for PRS, Precision Rifle Series, and NRL Hunter style competitions. If you're looking to shoot extended or extreme long range, I'd recommend a larger scope base on your action, as well as a built-in scope base into your rings, but that's for a completely different video in itself. Now, since we're on the topic of tracking, I did not have time to do a full track test because it takes forever to set up, but Kahles has always had a solid reputation in this department. Frank Galley's tracking tests proved that when he released on Sniper Side a few years ago, and all of the Kahles that he tested scored 100. But what really impressed me was the usable magnification. At 20 power, the reticle remained crystal clear, making target acquisition effortless because of the wider field of view. And typically that's where I'm living in competition, anywhere between 15 to 20 power. And I'll be honest, I didn't really use 40 power much because I don't ever use that magnification ever, only when I'm too lazy to look at my groups to a spotter at 100 yards. And I think the eye box deserves very special recognition here. When running positional stages, the larger ocular housing creates a more forgiving eye box window. This means less time fighting to find your sight picture and more time focusing on what matters, like how to control your wobble zone, especially when you're in awkward shooting positions, and ultimately being able to focus on what the wind is doing. As for mounting, I set this up in a Badger Ordnance C1 Max. And here's something interesting that I also discovered. Despite the scope's size and generous eye box, I didn't need a cantilever mount. The eye relief was perfect with a standard mount setup, and I still had one more Picatinny slot of adjustment forward. This is important because all shooters comes in different shapes and sizes, so it's important that there's some forward and aft forgiveness when you're setting up your rifle scope on your rifle for the most ideal position that you'll find yourself in. Again, another rabbit hole that is completely outside of the scope of this video. So let's talk about what is next for me. So I'm most likely gonna be going with the DLR version with the 10 mil turrets and the left side windage for my personal competition setups. The 10 mil version gives me a large view of the numbers and allows me to quickly and easily dial during a stage without getting lost in the turret. And as for the reticle, I think I'm gonna be going to the Skimmer Plus over the Christmas Tree Skimmer 4 Plus option. And honestly, over the years, I found I rarely use those additional holdover Christmas tree points. The cleaner reticle allows me to focus and see what's going on in my sight picture without all the clutter. And as the targets have gotten smaller in the Precision Rifle series, I've noticed myself dialing for windage and elevation more without really being handicapped for time. I'm really hoping that Trigger Cam develops the unit large enough for the ocular on the K320i and the K540. I want to be able to share what I see through the scope during actual competitions and continue to create engaging content on my channel. As I've said before, watching someone shoot long range without seeing what they're seeing is pretty boring, even if you know what you're looking for. Next time, I hope that I can have more time to test the following: resolution and clarity in different lighting conditions, especially through mirage, edge-to-edge clarity, light transmission, performance, color accuracy, chromatic aberration, complete tracking validation across the full range adjustment, as well as the overall durability. We all know that these aspects need a little bit more field time to properly evaluate. But here's who I see this scope being perfect for. If you're a serious competitive shooter looking to make the jump from maybe a $2,000 optic range, the K540i definitely deserves your attention. And here's why. You're getting that massive field of view increase, which is an absolute game changer for target transitions and positional stages, especially if you are shooting out west and you have target with target acquisition. The glass quality puts that right up there with the best, and you only get the unique features that Kahles offers, like left side or right side windage option and their distinctive turret feel, as well as their top side parallax. At $45.99, yes, you're in the top tier price bracket with zero compromise, tangent theta, the March 5-42 High Master, and the Schmidt & Bender 636 PM2. But I think what makes the K540 stand out is how it combines its premium glass with competition-specific features. It's purpose-built for the shooter who's ready to invest in their competitive edge. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What features matter to you when you're looking at this price range? Drop a comment and let me know down below. And before you go, if you're new to my page, welcome. I've got a Tika vlog series that isn't just another build video, it's a complete roadmap for getting into precision rifle without unnecessary shooting experience. I share every decision point and every mistake and lessons learned with that rifle setup. And poke around, I've also got educational videos with regard to getting into long range shooting or how to establish a better rifle to shoulder connection. I've got a podcast, I've got a Whiteboard Wednesday, so cruise around if you're new, welcome. I appreciate you being here. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this K540i does when it splashes into the market. Appreciate you guys being here. See you in the next video, and remember, you have control.